Donaire, a huge underdog, yet he feels Darchinian has built his record on washed-up fighters and guys moving up in weight. Well, at least tonight, Darchinian in there with someone who's fought mostly at flyweight and super flyweight. But remember, Darchinian regularly spars with guys much bigger than him. Darchinian 28-0 with 22 knockouts.
Now, Darchinian told us he wanted to use his right hand a lot more in this fight. He's known primarily as a left-handed puncher. So let's see if he tries to throw the right hook and the right uppercut a little more against Donaire.
And the reason for that, because he knows that Donaire is going to be circling to his left to try to get away from his power, the left hand. So he'll try to surprise him with the right. There it is, right there on cue.
You know what I'm surprised at? And it's a good weapon.
Left hand by Donaire to the head.
He is landing the jab. Donaire's also landing his left hook pretty well. And of course, that's a good weapon against the southpaw. Donaire not known for that punch. And he's had hand problems with his left. Broke it in his second fight as a pro, and it's been troubling him sometimes in fights since.
Oh, Darchinian got nailed, and then he came back. Here's a right hand, a miss by Donaire with the left hand. And it is really heating up here in round two.
Nonito Donaire is making this an interesting fight, but boy, he could make it too interesting for himself, because there are times when he is standing in harm's way of those Darchinian big punches.
Donaire has to be extremely focused against the awkward, herky-jerky moves of Vic Darchinian. Lunging left there by Darchinian.
That was a seminal moment in this fight. A big left hand by Darchinian, and Donaire counters him with the left hook. This is really turning into an interesting fight here in round two.
Some pretty good give and take. Good two-way action here in the early going for the IBF flyweight crown.
Well, you know, the interesting thing about this is it's almost as if Darchinian has stepped up in weight, because Donaire is by trade a 115-pounder. And so we're getting a clue of how things would go for him in the 115-pound division.
Darchinian missing again with a straight left there.
And Darchinian's landed some more good straight left hands in this round. He's had a better second round. I don't know if he's winning it, but it's been better.
Well, he's usually a slow starter. I mean, even in fights in which he has been highly combustible later on. Trying to push Donaire back with heavy lefts there is Darchinian, but Donaire standing his ground, looking tough. Final seconds of round two. What is developing into an interesting affair. Let's go. Well, as we mentioned earlier, back in October here on Showtime, Vic Darchinian had his way with Nonito Donaire's older brother, Glenn.
Tough outing for Glenn Donaire, down early in the fight, punished throughout until the 6th round when the fight was stopped because of a broken jaw, and it ended up being a technical win for Vic Darchinian. Tough night for Glenn Donaire.
You can't continue. Time.
And Glenn Donaire with the broken jaw. There he is now, jaw healed, a very interested spectator on hand to support his kid brother. Nonito says, hey, it's better to have Glenn in the seats with everybody else, not in the corner, because he just gets too nervous and hyper.
And that's their dad, who, of course, is the trainer of these two young men.
And where's Mom? Well, Imelda Donaire is at home in California watching on TV, and according to Nonito, praying. Well, it must be working to this point, because young Nonito faring pretty well as we enter round three.
And, you know, round two, I have to say, I might have put it in Darchinian's column because of his good second half of the round. He did come back very well, and now body work by Donaire. Darchinian's finding the range with the straight left, but the body work by Donaire in this round's been impressive.
You can see the difference in height and reach favoring the young challenger Donaire. Darchinian certainly has his vulnerabilities, as you can see, looping his punches. As Al pointed out earlier, the defensive lapses, but his unconventional style and his incredible power usually bail him out. And when he straightens out those lefts, the power is compounded, like just now. Now Darchinian going to the right.
That was a counter left hook a moment ago by Donaire. Every time Vic Darchinyan kind of rushes in, he does get countered by Donaire, and that's an issue for him.
Donaire has more well-rounded skills than Darchinyan. Darchinyan usually just looks for that one punch to end it. He's kind of undisciplined, but it seems to work for him.
Well, you know, Vic Darchinyan changes fighters when they come in the ring, and he's right. Once they've felt his power, for the most part, Steve, they change. They can't use their skills. That hasn't happened yet to Nonito Donaire, but there's a good left hand by Darchinyan.
Oftentimes, it's difficult to stay outside box move counter against Darchinyan. You have to sort of get in his chest, push him back, make it messy, hook to the body. But that's easier said than done, because if you get inside and you feel his sting, it's very discouraging.
Now, to Donaire's credit, he has fought this whole fight for the most part at long range, used his jab and stayed there. And Vic has managed to get the straight left hand in from time to time, but I know not as much as he would want. So far, he hasn't hurt Donaire with that punch.
Donaire being extremely calm and patient here, waiting for his moments.
The other thing Donaire did a moment ago was he feinted Darchinyan, and you saw Darchinyan react.
Big straight left hand right on the button by Vic Darchinyan. That nailed Donaire. Oh, there's a good left hand that staggered Darchinyan. Remember, he's never been hurt or dropped in his career. Donaire sensing the moment. Darchinyan battles back. Donaire marching forward. Pacing. It's another hard left hand to the chin by Donaire.
Ironic that a left hook has been the big weapon for Donaire. Surprising.
What a huge finish to round 3 for the challenger, Nonito Donaire. A rocky scenario for this man, Darchinyan.
I lost round? Yeah, of course you lost round. Hey, his eye. Take that. Here, Vic. It's nothing, Vic. No panic, relax, no panic.
Don't worry about it, relax.
Listen to me, don't worry about the rounds now. Listen, Vic, we are letting him do all the work from the middle. You're just standing there, and your right leg is not on the outside, inside. He's always catching us with right hand, Vic.
You gave him a couple of good punches.
Vic, it's all right, brother. It's all good.
Well, Darchinyan was able to land a good straight left hand against Donaire. Now, those are the kind of punches that are supposed to make fighters not come back at you, but there's a left hook by Donaire, and that was a portent of things to come, because there's a good counter left hook by Donaire that hurt Darchinyan and changed that round, and there would be other left hooks to follow that would also hurt Darchinyan, and big cut around the right eye of Darchinyan.
We'll see if that enters in as a factor. So things really getting intriguing here. This is the first time we've seen Vic Darchinyan in any kind of trouble. It might be the first time he's been in trouble his entire career, and we'll see how he responds in this situation. Round 4 scheduled for 12. IBF flyweight title. Darchinyan's belt on the line. Darchinyan's undefeated record at stake as well.
You know, Darchinyan's dad is here to see his fight. Only the second time he's seen his son fight as a pro. He's got to be a little nervous at this point.
Tense moments for Ruben Darchinyan. First trip to the United States.
Owned a gas station in Armenia, and he and Vic have a great relationship. And right now, he's got to be concerned for his son.
A lot of concern in the Darchinyan corner as well, led by trainer Billy Hussein, who's 2-0 with Darchinyan, so he's taking over from former world champion Jeff Fenech.
You know what's interesting about this too? Now, Darchinyan kind of feels urgency to come forward and make things happen, but when he does, Donaire is counterpunching him so effectively. So it's a tricky situation for Vic Darchinyan right now.
Donaire not quite as aggressive as he was towards the end of the 3rd round. Just tasted a straight left hand from Darchinyan.
Darchinyan's able to get that left in, especially when he uses the jab. I think Vic Darchinyan has not used his jab enough in this fight, Stephen. Were he using it more, it would set up that straight left hand.
You'll notice both eyes red and swollen on Darchinyan right now. Missing wildly with a straight left is Darchinyan. So the eyes are becoming a factor for Darchinyan. And it's early. How will Vic Darchinyan handle adversity? For the moment, it appears as if Donaire is letting him off the hook. Now, that right hand by Donaire was blocked by the left glove of Darchinyan. Straight left hand by Darchinyan to the chest, pushes Donaire back.
Again, the counter left hook by Donaire. You know, the problem with Darchinyan is when he rushes in, defense is not something he remembers much, and Donaire has been able to take advantage of it. Now, there's some roughhouse tactics by Darchinyan. We talked about that before the fight. He likes to rough things up in there, but you can't do it, Steve, when your opponent, who has a big height and reach advantage, stays on the outside.
Nice counter left there by Donaire. Another counter there by Darchinyan, and a spin-around move by Donaire. And Eddie Claudio is saying, don't do that.
I kind of thought it was fun.
Works better in basketball.
Yeah, it's true.
Final seconds of the round. And Darchinyan ends it with a straight left to the chest. Let's get it over to our Jim Gray. Jim?
All right, Steve, thank you very much. I'm here with Glenn. Your brother is doing very, very well. Nonito is right now. How much advice were you able to give him coming off your loss to Darchinyan?
The only thing I told him is that, you know, look, if only I could hurt Vic, because Vic was way a lot bigger than I am. But, you know, like a fighter, you know, I never backed up to anybody. But the thing is, I hit Vic with good punches back then, and I couldn't hurt him. I could only hear him go, oh. But I told him, if my brother, if you hit him with those kind of punches, you'll knock him out.
And did you feel as though Darchinyan could not hurt your brother?
The thing is, we have two different styles. And the only thing my brother needs to do is, you know, just don't get hit. Because Darchinyan is, like I said, you know, God forbid, he's a lucky puncher.
You're more nervous now than when you fight, aren't you?
Oh, no. You know, to tell you, ask my brother or whatever, when we go into the ring, we never, you know, no lie, we never get nervous. But when we see each other fight, we get nervous.
Calm down. Enjoy the fight. Thanks for coming on with us.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you.
Back to you, Steve.
Thank you very much, Jim. Boy, he made me nervous. They are two different kinds of fighters. Glenn Donaire, a face-first brawler, and Nonito more of a tactical technician.
And Nonito Donaire has some physical attributes, too, that his brother doesn't have. He's taller, he's got the reach, and he's a little bit bigger. And so all of that is troubling Vic Darchinyan right now.
Darchinyan came in thinking that Nonito was more of a threat, that he was better than Glenn, taking nothing away from Glenn's skills. Round 5 underway, scheduled for 12. IBF flyweight belt on the line. The champion Darchinyan in the black. Struggling a little bit with the challenger in the red, Nonito Donaire. Nice shot to the body there by Donaire.
Exactly, Steve. And the body work Donaire's done over the first 4.5 rounds could pay dividends later in the fight. Donaire thinks he'll own the later rounds. In his last 12-round fight, Donaire against Oscar Andrade won the last 3 rounds dramatically to win that decision. He feels he's going to be the stronger fighter in the later rounds.
And our panel of press row scorers have it as a majority draw after 4 rounds.
I have a 39-37 as Sherman Cain does.
Sherman Cain from the Manchester Journal-Inquirer here in Connecticut. Mark Abrams, 15rounds.com. Jack Obermeyer from Boxing Digest. Coming up at the midway point of round 5.
There's the jab by Nonito Donaire working well.
Oh, look out!